The night sky above Earth was calm, full of quiet stars. But beyond those stars, something was watching. For weeks, a massive alien ship had been sitting just outside Earth's orbit, silent, invisible to human eyes. Inside, the Zorith Empire's exploration team studied the blue planet with growing disgust. To them, humans were primitive, loud, violent, dirty. They fight over water, hissed Commander Zeltor, his silver skin reflecting the soft glow of holographic screens. They destroy their own forests and burn their air. They are not ready for the stars. Beside him, a smaller alien with bright yellow eyes, Researcher Vin, adjusted his data tablet nervously. Yes, Commander. But orders are clear. The High Council demands first contact. They wish to test if humans can be of use. Use. Zeltor laughed softly. You mean slaves? Vin didn't answer. He simply stared at the hologram of Earth, turning slowly in the dark. The Zorith Empire had conquered 100 worlds. They always began with peace, a signal, a message, a handshake. Then came control, chains and silence. Now, Earth was next. It was a normal night in Houston. The stars shone brightly above the city, and no one knew that something ancient and powerful was staring down at them. Miles away, in an observatory on the edge of town, Dr. Elena Ward leaned over her telescope. She had been tracking a strange object for 3 nights, something that didn't belong among the stars. Her coffee had gone cold. Her eyes were tired. But when she looked again through the telescope, she froze. The object was moving. Impossible, she whispered. Her fingers shook as she typed data into her computer. It's coming closer. Her assistant, a young intern named Ryan, laughed from across the room. You're seeing things again. Document probably another satellite. No, Ryan, she said firmly. This one is different. Suddenly, all the lights in the observatory flickered, once, twice, and died. The computers went black. Ryan stood up, confused. What the hell? Before he could finish, a loud humming filled the air, deep and heavy, like the sky itself was vibrating. Outside, the stars seemed to move. Then a huge shadow covered the sky. Elena ran to the window, and her breath stopped. A ship, larger than a mountain, hovered silently above the clouds. Its surface glowed faintly with blue light, patterns shifting like veins of energy. Ryan whispered, "Is that a UFO?" Elena couldn't speak. Her heart was racing. Up above, inside the Zorith ship, Commander Zeltor stood on the command deck, staring down at Earth's glowing cities. So this is humanity, he said coldly. A world that believes it owns the stars. He turned to his team. Prepare the message. A crystal console lit up, and a deep pulse of light traveled from the ship down through Earth's atmosphere, invisible to human eyes, but powerful enough to shake every satellite. Within seconds, every screen, every phone, every broadcast across the world went black. Then a voice spoke, not human, not mechanical, but something in between. This is the Zorith Empire. We come in peace. Billions of people froze, listening. The voice continued, echoing through every device on the planet. Your species has been observed. Your progress, noted. We request your leader's presence for a peaceful meeting. Refusal will be seen as hostility. Then the message vanished. The world fell into chaos. In Washington, the president's advisors screamed across the Situation Room table. No one could agree. Was it a joke? A hack? Or something real? Military bases went on full alert. Fighter jets were scrambled. But no one could touch the ship. It was too high, too powerful. Dr. Elena Ward was brought in by emergency request, the only civilian who had witnessed the object before contact. She stood before the generals, her voice shaking. They're not bluffing. I saw it. I measured the size, the energy output. We're not dealing with a weapon. We're dealing with an intelligence far beyond ours. The president rubbed his forehead, whispering, "Then God help us all." Back on the ship, Zell-Tor smiled coldly. They panic fast. Just as expected. Vin looked nervous. Commander, what if they resist? Humans. They seem unpredictable. Zell-Tor's smile faded. If they resist, we erase them. The Zorith Empire does not tolerate chaos. But deep inside the ship, a strange signal flickered in one of the computers. It was small, unnoticed. A human hacker, tracing the alien frequency, had found a way in. And for the first time, the Zorith Empire was being watched. Down on Earth, in a dark room full of glowing screens, a man whispered to himself, "You messed with the wrong planet." His fingers moved quickly across the keyboard, sending digital sparks into the alien system. He didn't know it yet, but he had just started the first war between Earth and the stars. And this time, humanity wouldn't go quietly. The world didn't sleep that night. Every country was awake, watching the same thing, a massive alien ship floating above Earth, silent and unmoving. News anchors spoke with shaking voices. Streets were empty. People looked up at the sky, waiting for something to happen. And then, it did. At exactly 3 a.m., a bright light shot down from the alien ship, striking the ocean near the Pacific. The impact didn't cause an explosion. It created a strange ring of glowing water that pulsed with energy. No one knew what it was. But everyone felt the same cold fear. Inside the alien ship, Commander Zell-Tor stood before a tall window, watching Earth's blue ocean shimmer. "Status of the landing beacon?" he asked. Vin, the researcher, bowed slightly. "It's active, Commander. Soon, the surface will stabilize enough for our drones to deploy." "Good," Zell-Tor replied. His silver eyes narrowed. "By dawn, humanity will kneel." But far below, something unexpected was already happening. In a dark room filled with computer screens, the human hacker who had traced the alien signal was still typing furiously. His name was Ethan Cross, a former military programmer turned cybersecurity expert. He had seen the alien message like everyone else, but unlike others, he saw something more. Hidden patterns. A code. A pulse frequency that didn't match any human technology. And he had followed it, straight into the heart of the alien system. Come on, he muttered, fingers flying over the keyboard. His screen showed strange alien symbols flickering between lines of English code. "You wanted to spy on us? Let's see how you like it." He managed to open a small window into the alien ship's network. Most of it was locked behind strange quantum encryption, but he found one thing, a live feed from inside the ship. Ethan's eyes widened as he saw them for the first time. Tall, elegant creatures with metallic skin and glowing eyes. Their armor looked like liquid steel. They moved with cold precision, too calm, too confident. He pressed the record button. Then his computer screen blinked red. "Warning. Unauthorized access detected." "Oh," he whispered. Inside the ship, alarms began to echo. "Commander," Vin shouted. "We've been breached. Someone from Earth just entered our system." Zell-Tor spun around. "Impossible. Their technology is centuries behind." "Not anymore," Vin said quietly. "They're adapting fast." For the first time, Zell-Tor's calm expression cracked. "Trace the signal," he ordered. "I want whoever did this gone." Back on Earth, Ethan saw his system overheating. He grabbed a hard drive, slammed it into the port, and started copying everything he could before the aliens could shut him out. The lights flickered. His computer sparked. Then everything went black. Smoke rose from the tower. Ethan coughed and pulled the drive free, still hot to the touch. "Got you," he whispered, smiling. He had no idea that he'd just stolen something far more valuable than data. He had taken the coordinates of the Zoritha's landing command module, the heart of their invasion. The next morning, the U.S. Military Command Center was chaos. Generals barked orders, scientists shouted over one another, and in the center of it all, Dr. Elena Ward stood beside the president. "Mr. President," she said, I believe I can locate the source of that oceanic energy ring. It's a landing zone. They're preparing to come down. The president turned to her, eyes tired. And how do we stop something that big, Doctor? Before she could answer, the door opened, and Ethan Cross was dragged in by two soldiers. He looked rough, exhausted, but confident. You can stop them, he said. Because I've seen inside their ship. Hours later, inside a secure facility, Ethan plugged in his hard drive. The room fell silent as a holographic image of the alien vessel appeared in midair, rotating slowly. That's their core, Ethan said, pointing at a glowing section near the bottom. If you hit that, you disable their entire energy grid. A general frowned. And how do we hit something that's in orbit? Ethan smiled slightly. We don't need to reach orbit. They're sending drones through that ring in the Pacific. We destroy the ring before they can deploy. The president leaned forward. How long before the drones arrive? Elena checked the alien data, eyes wide. 3 hours. At sea, the waves began to rise. The energy ring glowed brighter, lighting up the night like a burning halo. Then, the water broke open. 6 huge alien drones emerged, black, sharp, and silent. Each one carried weapons that hummed with power. Naval ships surrounded the zone, ready to fire. Hold your positions, the admiral said through the radio. Target when I say so. The sky was red with lightning. The drones began scanning the ships, their glowing eyes locking onto targets. Then the first drone fired. A beam of blue light cut through the sea, melting metal in seconds. One destroyer exploded instantly. Return fire, the admiral shouted. Missiles roared across the ocean, slamming into the drones, but the explosions only pushed them back slightly. From the shore, Elena and Ethan watched the chaos on the live feed. They're too strong, she said. Ethan's eyes narrowed. Then we'll fight smarter. He opened his laptop again and connected to the naval comms. Admiral, aim all torpedoes under the ring. Not at the drones. At the structure below it. There was silence for a second. Then the admiral shouted, all units, fire beneath the ring. Torpedoes launched. They sliced through the waves and struck the glowing core beneath the ring. 4-1 heartbeat. Nothing happened. Then the ocean erupted. A massive wave of light exploded upward, swallowing the drones and shattering the energy field. The sea boiled and roared as the alien beacon collapsed in a blinding flash. Inside the Zorith ship, alarms screamed. Commander! Vin shouted. The landing beacon has been destroyed. Zeltor stared at the display in disbelief. Impossible. No primitive world could. He stopped mid-sentence. For the first time, he felt something he hadn't felt in centuries. Fear. Down on Earth, as the sea began to calm, Ethan looked up at the stars. They thought we were weak, he said quietly. Elena nodded beside him. They'll think twice now. But high above them, the Zorith ship slowly turned, and began charging its main weapon. This time, they weren't sending drones. They were coming themselves. High above Earth, the Zorith ship turned slowly, its silver hull glowing like a burning moon. The attack on their beacon had enraged the entire crew. Commander Zeltor stood on the bridge, hands clenched behind his back. His glowing eyes were fixed on the hologram of Earth below. These creatures, he said, voice cold and low, have no idea who they are defying. Beside him, researcher Vin spoke softly. Commander, perhaps we underestimated them. Their technology, their reaction time. Enough. Zeltor barked. They are animals playing with stolen fire. We end this now. He turned toward his soldiers, tall, armored Zorith warriors, ready for battle. Their armor shimmered with energy, each carrying plasma rifles that could melt through rock. Prepare the landing craft, Zeltor ordered. I will lead the strike myself. The world watched in horror as the alien ship began to open. Giant panels unfolded from its underbelly, revealing dark shapes descending through the clouds, the first wave of alien soldiers. They moved fast, wrapped in blue light, falling like meteors toward the Pacific coast. Cities went silent. Sirens echoed across entire continents. Dr. Elena Ward stood at the command center, her heart pounding. They're landing near Los Angeles. Ethan Cross, still working on his laptop, didn't look up. Good. That's where we'll make them regret it. The general nearby frowned. Regret it? We barely stopped their drones. What do you plan to do, son? Ethan smirked. Use their own tech against them. On the coast, the first alien landing pods slammed into the ground, leaving deep craters. Steam rose as the doors hissed open, revealing the Zorith warriors inside. Their leader, Zeltor, stepped out first, tall, calm, terrifying. His silver armor glowed with alien runes, and in his hand, he carried a blade made of pure energy. He looked around at the broken city skyline, unimpressed. So this is your world, he said quietly. So fragile. So easy to take. The Zorith soldiers spread out, scanning the area. Every sound, every movement was analyzed. Then, from behind a collapsed bridge, a voice shouted, "Now!" Explosions erupted across the shore. Hidden missile launchers fired from buildings. Military jets roared overhead, releasing streams of fire and smoke. The aliens reacted instantly. Shields activated, deflecting most of the blasts, but the humans didn't stop. Tanks rolled forward. Soldiers poured into the streets, firing everything they had. For a moment, the battle was chaos, light, sound, and fire blending into a storm. Zeltor watched it all without fear. Then he raised his blade, and with a single swing, sent a wave of blue energy through the air. It hit 3 tanks at once, slicing them apart like paper. Pathetic, he whispered. Far from the battle, in a hidden bunker, Ethan and Elena worked side by side. I downloaded fragments of their system before they kicked me out, Ethan said quickly. There's something called a neural sync field. It connects their soldiers through the ship, a kind of shared brain. Elena's eyes widened. So if you disrupt the field, you cut off their coordination, Ethan finished. They'll lose connection, become slower, confused. But how do we hit something like that? Ethan smiled. With this. He pointed to a device built from a mix of alien parts and human tech, a glowing cube humming with unstable energy. I call it the mirror pulse. It reflects their own frequency back at them. Elena hesitated. Are you sure it'll work? He looked at her and said simply, it has to. Back on the battlefield, the humans were being pushed back. The Zorith moved like ghosts, every shot precise, every step planned. Then, from the sky, a drone flew low, carrying Ethan's device. It reached the center of the battlefield, right above Zeltor's position. Ethan spoke through the comms. Activating mirror pulse in 3, 2, 1. A blinding flash exploded across the battlefield. For a moment, everything stopped. The aliens froze mid-movement. Their eyes flickered, their weapons dropped. A strange sound filled the air, like static in a storm. Zeltor fell to one knee, clutching his head as the neural link shattered. What have they done? He growled. Human soldiers saw their chance. Fire! The humans opened fire again, hitting the stunned aliens hard. For the first time since the invasion began, the aliens were retreating. Inside the ship above Earth, chaos broke out. The control systems were failing, the connection to the surface troops was broken, and the ship's main reactor was overheating. Vin ran to the control panel, shouting, Commander Zeltor's neural signal is collapsing. The humans are using our frequency against us. The captain of the ship cursed. How could they learn this fast? Because, Vin said quietly, they are not what we thought. On Earth, the battlefield was covered in smoke. Wounded soldiers crawled through debris, but their eyes were filled with hope. Ethan and Elena stood on a nearby ridge, watching through binoculars. They're falling back, Elena said. Ethan nodded, his expression hard. Good. But this isn't over. They'll come back stronger. She looked at him. And us. He smiled faintly. We'll be ready. Above them, the alien ship began to move again, rising higher into the sky. But instead of leaving, it started to charge its main weapon, a massive beam capable of burning entire cities. Zeltor's voice echoed through the comms once more, filled with rage. You think you have one? You think you can fight the Zorith? You have only earned extinction. Ethan looked up, defiant. Then come and try. The sky turned red as the ship prepared to fire. And the war for Earth had only just begun. The sky above Earth burned red. The Zorith warship hung like a second sun, silent, massive, and furious. Inside its glowing core, energy began to build. Lines of blue light spread across its surface like veins of fire. Every country on Earth saw it. Every person knew what was coming. Dr. Elena Ward stood in the command center, staring at the feed from orbit. They're charging their main cannon, she whispered. If they fire, it won't just destroy one city, it'll destroy everything. Ethan Cross stood beside her, his jaw tight. Then we stop them before it fires. The general turned sharply. With what? We've got missiles, but nothing can reach that altitude. Even if they could, our weapons can't pierce that ship. Ethan didn't answer right away. His mind raced through everything he'd seen inside the alien system, every piece of stolen code, every fragment of data. Finally, he looked up. Maybe we can't pierce it, he said slowly. But maybe we can break its heart. High above, inside the Zorith ship, Commander Zeltor watched the power levels climb. Target the human capital, he ordered coldly. Let them see the price of defiance. But then, something unexpected happened. A soft chime echoed through the control deck. One of the side terminals began flickering. Strange human symbols flashed across the alien screens. What is that? Zeltor demanded. Vin ran to the console. His yellow eyes widened. Commander, it's coming from inside the ship. Before Zeltor could respond, a holographic message appeared in the air, in English. Stop. You don't understand. The room fell silent. Vin whispered, Commander, that came from one of our science modules. Section 7. Zeltor's tone turned deadly. Who is sending it? An internal transmission. It's... Vin hesitated, disbelief in his voice. It's one of our own. Deep inside the ship, in a dark laboratory filled with glowing tanks, a lone Zorith scientist worked frantically. Her name was Zyranai. She had studied human broadcasts for weeks, reading their history, their wars, their art, and she had begun to doubt the Empire. Now, she stood before a console, her hands trembling. Please, she whispered into the communicator, listen to me. The humans are not like the others. They fight for each other. They protect. We cannot win this war without destroying what makes us who we are. But Zeltor's voice boomed through the intercom. Zyranai, you dare defy the Empire. Zyra closed her eyes. I dare to see. Back on Earth, Elena's screen flickered. A strange alien signal broke through the static, then translated automatically. This is Zyra of the Zorith. I am sending you coordinates. There is a weakness in the ship's power core. Strike there, and you can stop the weapon. Ethan's eyes widened. Did that just say what I think it said? Elena nodded, stunned. An alien is helping us. The general didn't hesitate. Get me every fighter we have left. We'll hit that point with everything we've got. Above the planet, Zyra worked desperately. She bypassed security locks, rewired conduits, and planted viruses into the ship's system. But alarms were already blaring. Soldiers rushed toward her lab. She looked at the main reactor one last time, whispering softly, for them, and for us. She pressed the final key. The lights across the ship flickered, once, twice, then half of the control systems went dark. Zeltor slammed his fist against the console. She's disabling our power grid. Vin looked terrified. Commander, if she shuts down the stabilizers, the main cannon could overload. Then kill her, Zell-Tor hissed. At that moment, the first human strike force launched from Earth. Fighter jets, modified with alien tech from the recovered drones, soared through the upper atmosphere, guided by Ethan's calculations. The pilots could barely breathe at that height, but they pushed harder. Target locked, the squadron leader said over comms. Coordinates confirmed. Below, the world watched. Fire, came the order. Missiles streaked upward, glowing like falling stars in reverse. They climbed higher, faster, leaving burning trails through the sky. Inside the Zorith ship, Zyra saw the incoming missiles on her screen. She smiled faintly. They're coming. Then the doors behind her exploded. Soldiers stormed in. She didn't run. Instead, she hit one last switch and whispered, "Forgive me." The control room erupted in light. From Earth's surface, people saw it, a sudden burst of blue fire high in the sky. The massive alien ship shuddered. Its glow dimmed, then flared too bright. The main cannon's charge spiraled out of control. Zell-Tor shouted, "Shut it down. Now." But it was too late. A blinding beam of energy erupted, not toward Earth, but upward, splitting the clouds and tearing through the emptiness of space. The recoil threw the Zorith ship into chaos. Inside, flames spread through the corridors. Systems crashed. Warriors shouted in panic. Vin turned to Zell-Tor. "Commander, the core is collapsing." Zell-Tor's voice was ice. "Stabilize it. We do not retreat from." The deck beneath them shook violently. Panels exploded. Vin stared at him. "She saved them, and destroyed us." On the ground, Elena and Ethan watched as the sky lit up in silence. The alien ship began to fall, slowly, breaking apart as it entered the upper atmosphere. Fragments of glowing metal scattered like comets. "She did it," Elena whispered. "That alien, she saved Earth." Ethan nodded, eyes locked on the falling debris. "Yeah. But he's not dead. Not yet." High above, inside a burning corridor, Commander Zell-Tor crawled from the wreckage, his armor cracked, his eyes burning with fury. He looked down at the blue planet below, hatred in every breath. "This isn't over," he growled. "I will return. And when I do, there will be no mercy." He reached for an escape pod, and vanished into the darkness of space. Down on Earth, the people cheered. The invasion was over, or so they thought. Ethan looked at Elena. "If he's alive, he'll rebuild." She nodded quietly. "Then we better be ready for when he comes back." Ethan smiled faintly. "Next time, we'll be waiting." The camera panned upward to the night sky, where pieces of the Zorith ship burned like falling stars, a warning and a promise. For weeks, Earth lived in peace. The skies were clear. The alien lights were gone. People celebrated in the streets, thinking the nightmare had ended. News channels called it the day humanity stood tall. Statues were planned, heroes were honored, and the world finally breathed again. But peace was only an illusion. Because somewhere, far beyond the reach of satellites, a small escape pod drifted through the dark. Inside it, Commander Zell-Tor's eyes slowly opened. His silver armor was cracked. His body was covered in burns. But he was alive. He stared at the glowing blue planet below, his voice cold as ice. "You think you have won, humans, but you have only delayed the inevitable." He set the pod's course. It streaked down through Earth's atmosphere, unseen, crashing deep into the mountains of South America, where no one would find him. Months passed. The world moved on. Ethan Cross became a global name, the man who hacked an alien empire. But fame didn't make him happy. Every night, he sat alone in his workshop, surrounded by alien fragments, bits of Zorith technology recovered from the ocean. He studied them carefully, rewiring, decoding, searching. Elena Ward often visited, bringing coffee and quiet company. "You should rest, Ethan," she said softly one night. "It's over. We survived." Ethan looked up at her with tired eyes. "You don't get it, Elena. Aliens don't just give up. Someone out there is still watching." She frowned. "You really think he's alive?" He didn't answer, but the look on his face said everything. Far away, deep inside a jungle valley, Zeltor stood before a growing army. His damaged ship parts had been rebuilt with human metal and alien tech. Around him, a dozen Zorith survivors, soldiers from his wrecked fleet, knelt before him. Their armor was patched. Their eyes glowed dimly. But they were loyal. Zeltor raised his hand. "This world wounded us," he said. "They took our pride, our power. But they also gave us something valuable." He picked up a small drone built from scavenged parts, half human, half Zorith design. "Their technology." The soldiers murmured in approval. "With this," he said, "we will rebuild the empire here, in their own shadows. And when the time is right, we will strike." He turned toward the jungle horizon. "Let them think they are safe." One night, in his lab, Ethan noticed something strange. A small piece of alien crystal he had been studying, dead for months, suddenly began to glow. He frowned, checking the readings. "That's impossible." The crystal pulsed again, in rhythm, like a heartbeat. He ran to his computer and connected it. The screen filled with alien code. But this time, it wasn't random. It was a signal. Elena entered just as he decoded it. "What's happening?" Ethan's voice was barely a whisper. "It's transmitting from Earth." She froze. "From Earth? You mean?" "Yes," he said grimly. "He's still here." In the jungle, Zeltor stood before a massive machine, a new power core built from the remains of his ship. Its light pulsed through the trees like blue lightning. Vin, his researcher, one of the few who had survived, looked uneasy. "Commander, the energy signature is strong enough to be detected by human satellites. If they find us." "They won't," Zeltor interrupted. "Their eyes are blind to this place. And soon, it won't matter." He pressed his hand to the console. The machine roared to life. From the ground, metal arms rose like serpents, forming a circular structure, a portal. Vin's eyes widened. "You're building a gate?" Zeltor nodded slowly. "To bring the rest of the fleet. The Empire will come through this time, not for conquest, but for vengeance." Back in the city, Ethan and Elena met with the military again. The generals were skeptical. "You're saying the aliens are rebuilding on our planet?" one asked, incredulous. Ethan pointed to the data. "This frequency matches Zorith energy. It's not random. It's organized." Elena added, "And it's increasing every day. Whatever they're doing, it's getting stronger." The general rubbed his chin. "If you're right, we can't risk a direct strike. The jungle's too dense for bombing. We'll need a ground team." Ethan stepped forward. "Then send me." Elena's eyes widened. "Ethan, no. That's suicide." He looked at her calmly. "Someone has to find where they're hiding before it's too late." Days later, Ethan was deep in the jungle with a small recon team. They moved quietly through the mist, guided by the strange blue glow pulsing in the distance. As they approached a ridge, the ground began to hum. Ethan raised his hand. "Everyone, stop." Through the trees below, they saw it, the alien base. The massive circular portal rising like a dark halo, glowing brighter with every second. He whispered, "He's here." Before anyone could respond, a voice echoed through the jungle, deep and cruel. "I told you, human." The soldiers froze. Zeltor stepped out of the shadows, armor gleaming faintly in the light. His eyes burned with fury. "This isn't over." He raised his arm, and a wave of energy blasted through the trees. The human team was thrown back, their weapons shattered. Ethan hit the ground hard, ears ringing, vision spinning. Through the smoke, he saw Zeltor walking toward him, calm, confident. "You stole from me. You turned my own power against me. But now," he lifted his blade, glowing like a sun, "you'll watch as I burn your world for real." Ethan tried to stand, but pain shot through his body. Still, he managed to glare up at the alien. "You made one mistake." Zeltor tilted his head. "And what's that?" Ethan smiled weakly. "You forgot, humans never stop fighting." Suddenly, a sound roared above them, helicopters. The trees shook as missiles fired from the sky, striking the ground around the portal. Zeltor turned, raising his shield as explosions lit the night. Ethan crawled back, shouting into his radio, "Hit the portal! Don't let it open!" The air shimmered as the portal began to react, its energy spiraling out of control. Zeltor looked up at the chaos and roared in fury. "No! You can't stop what's coming." The portal exploded in a blinding flash, throwing everyone into the darkness. Hours later, smoke rose from the jungle. The base was gone, nothing but scorched earth. Helicopters searched the area, but there was no sign of Zeltor's body. Ethan sat on the ground, staring at the crater. Elena's voice crackled through the comms. "Ethan? Are you there?" He sighed softly. "Yeah, but I don't think it's over." Above them, far beyond the clouds, a faint light flickered in space, a Zorith distress signal sent to the Empire. The war had only paused. The sky was still burning. Days after the explosion in the Amazon jungle, thick smoke curled into the atmosphere. The world believed it was over again, that Zeltor and his army were finally gone. But Ethan Cross knew better. He stood on the edge of the crater, the ruins of alien metal scattered around him, twisted and black. His face was scarred, his eyes tired. In his hand, he held what was left of the Zorith portal core, a fragment still glowing faintly blue. Elena's voice came through his earpiece, worried. "Ethan, we've swept the area 3 times. No sign of Zeltor. He's either vaporized or gone." Ethan stared at the fragment. "He's not gone," he muttered. "He sent something before the explosion. A signal. Orbit, 200,000 kilometers above Earth. In the cold void of space, something stirred. A small relay satellite, alien in design, blinked once. Then again. Then a steady pulse. It was alive. The signal Ethan had feared rippled across the stars, cutting through the dark like a scream. Somewhere in deep space, a massive shadow drifted between the stars, not a planet, not an asteroid, but a ship. A Zorith dreadnought. It dwarfed anything humanity had ever built. Its hull shimmered with black energy, its size enough to swallow entire cities. Inside its throne chamber, a tall figure stood before a projection of Zeltor's last transmission, his final words before the portal explosion. "The humans have destroyed the gate, but I live. I send this to the Empire. Send reinforcements. Send the Executor." The figure stepped forward, Commander Varric the Executor, one of the Empire's most feared warlords. His armor was obsidian, his eyes glowing crimson. He listened to the message in silence, then turned to his council. "So," he said quietly, "the humans fought back. They defeated Zeltor." "Interesting." One of the alien officers bowed. "Shall we prepare the fleet, Lord Varric?" Varric's expression darkened. "No. Not yet. We will not repeat Zeltor's arrogance. We will study them first. Learn their defenses. Break them from within." He raised a clawed hand. "Deploy the Spectres." Earth, 2 weeks later. Strange things began happening around the globe. Power grids flickered. Satellites glitched. Communication networks dropped without warning. Governments blamed solar flares. Ethan knew better. In his underground lab, he watched lines of alien code flood his monitors, digital ghosts spreading through the internet. "Someone's inside our systems," he whispered. "Not human. It's them." Elena leaned closer. You mean Zorith infiltrators, he said. They're mapping everything, our weapons, our cities, our leaders. That night, in the skies above New Delhi, a meteor shower streaked across the clouds. People stopped and watched in awe, thinking it was just another beautiful phenomenon. But one of those meteors changed direction midair. It wasn't a meteor. It was a Zorith drop pod. It slammed into a remote desert, burning a crater into the sand. Out of it stepped tall, slender figures, cloaked in living metal, eyes hidden behind dark helmets. They moved like shadows, vanishing into the night. The first specters had arrived. UN Defense Headquarters, Geneva. A global emergency meeting was underway. The world's top leaders, scientists, and military generals gathered in silence. Ethan stood at the center, a hologram of Earth rotating beside him, marked with dozens of red points, the detected alien signatures. He spoke calmly but urgently. They're not invading with ships this time. They're sending agents, infiltrators, saboteurs. They're already among us. The UN commander slammed his fist on the table. Then we need to unify our defenses. One command structure, one global response. Elena nodded. Operation Sentinel. Everyone looked at her. She continued, a unified planetary defense network. AI surveillance, orbital shields, joint strike teams, all working under one protocol. The room was silent for a moment. Then, slowly, heads began to nod. For the first time in history, Earth was uniting. But unity had a cost. Hidden among the crowd, in the far corner of the UN chamber, one of the security officers listened quietly. Too quietly. When the meeting ended, the officer stepped into a dark corridor, removed his earpiece, and whispered in a cold, mechanical voice. Phase 1 complete. They're preparing their defenses. Exactly as predicted. He raised his hand. The skin flickered, revealing black metal beneath. He wasn't human. Deep space. Commander Varric stood on his command deck, staring at the holographic projection of Earth. Good, he said. Let them build their defenses. Let them believe they are safe. The stronger they become, the more glorious their fall will be. The stars outside his ship twisted as new wormholes opened. Dozens of colossal Zorith ships emerged, their engines burning blue fire across the void. Prepare the invasion fleets, Varric ordered. But not yet. Not until they are ready to witness despair. He smiled, the kind of smile that chilled even his own soldiers. Zeltor failed because he tried to conquer. I will eradicate. Earth. 1 month later. Ethan and Elena stood on a launch platform, watching the first Sentinel defense satellite rise into orbit, a symbol of hope for humanity. As it disappeared into the clouds, Elena whispered, "Do you think this will be enough?" Ethan didn't answer immediately. He looked at the sky, calm, blue, quiet. Then he said, "Hope is never enough. But it's a start." Behind him, deep in the shadows of the control room, the disguised specter watched them go, eyes glowing faintly red. And somewhere, beyond the stars, Varric's fleet began to move. The next war had already begun, and Earth had no idea. The stars were on fire. For weeks, the night sky had glowed with streaks of light, not meteors, not auroras, but ships. Zorith ships. Thousands of them. The invasion had begun. Humanity's Operation Sentinel came alive. Satellites activated in orbit, defense cannons lit up the atmosphere, and fighter squadrons launched from every continent. Earth had never been more united. And never more afraid. In the command center of the Sentinel base, Ethan Cross stood before the giant screen. Red dots filled the display, the entire sky crawling with enemies. Elena moved beside him, her voice steady but tense. They're entering the upper atmosphere. We're counting at least 8 main assault carriers. Each one could level a city. Ethan's eyes narrowed. Then we hit them before they hit us. He turned to the operators. Target the carriers with orbital cannons. Fire everything we've got. The The base shook as missiles roared upward, streaking into the clouds. Moments later, space lit up with explosions, bright flashes that turned night into day. Cheers filled the control room. But the celebration ended too soon. The radar began to scream. Elena froze. They're still coming. And faster. Orbit, above Earth. The Zorith armada tore through the defense grid like knives through glass. Commander Varric stood on the bridge of his flagship, eyes glowing red as he watched Earth's defenses struggle. So much fire, he whispered. So much courage. Such a waste. He raised his hand. Deploy the Black Storm. At his command, a swarm of black drones emerged from the carriers, millions of them, moving as one living shadow. They spread across the sky, blotting out the stars. They dove toward the planet Earth, Washington, D.C. Alarms blared through the streets as the first wave hit. Drones rained from the clouds, ripping through towers, cutting power lines, and crashing into military bases. Cities burned. The skies turned red. But humanity didn't run this time. Tanks rolled out. Jet fighters cut through the smoke. Defense turrets tracked every drone in the air. The Sentinels, elite ground units, charged through the ruins, firing plasma rifles taken from captured alien tech. Ethan's voice echoed through the global comms. This is not the end. Every city, every soldier, hold the line. Humanity stands together. Sentinel Command Base. Elena's console flickered. Ethan, I'm detecting something massive above us. It's charging energy. Ethan looked up at the sky feed. Varric's flagship had opened a huge circular gate under its hull, a weapon larger than the ship itself. Elena's voice broke. That's not a cannon. It's a planet killer. Ethan's jaw tightened. We can't stop that with missiles. He stared at the hologram, the same glowing Zorith fragment he'd kept since the Amazon battle. The core Zyra had once sacrificed herself to destroy. He suddenly understood what she'd meant when she said, "The heart of the ship is the key." "Elena," he said quietly, "we're going to the source." Minutes later, Ethan climbed into a sleek, black ship, a hybrid craft built from both human and alien technology. Its engines pulsed blue like a heartbeat. Elena stood by the hatch, gripping his arm. "You'll never make it back if you go up there alone." Ethan smiled faintly. "Then make sure it's worth it." He closed the hatch. The ship roared into the sky, vanishing into the clouds. Orbit, enemy flagship. Varric watched the small human craft rising through the smoke. "Foolish," he muttered. "One man cannot stop the tide." But he didn't know who that man was. Ethan's ship cut through waves of drones, blasting through the chaos. The shields flickered, alarms screamed, but he didn't slow down. He flew straight into the flagship's open energy gate, through fire, through lightning, through death itself. Inside the ship's core, blue energy swirled like a storm. Ethan landed hard, jumped out, and ran toward the pulsating reactor at the center, the same alien design Zyra had described before she died. He pulled out the Zorith core fragment from his pocket. It began glowing, reacting to the reactor's rhythm. Ethan whispered, "Zyra, I hope you're right." He slammed the fragment into the control node. Varric's bridge. "Commander!" an officer shouted. "The main reactor, it's destabilizing." Varric turned sharply. "What? How?" Then he saw it, a human signature inside the heart of his ship. Ethan Cross. Varric's eyes blazed with fury. "Get him out." He rushed to the teleport console, but it was too late. Ethan activated the core. The entire ship's power grid lit up like a sun. Earth's orbit turned to fire. From the ground, millions watched as Varric's flagship began to glow, a sphere of blue light expanding, pulsing, shaking the stars. Inside, Ethan stood in the heart of the storm, staring into the light. For the first time, he smiled. "For Earth," he whispered. Then the light consumed him. The explosion was silent, a bloom of energy so bright it outshone the moon. The shockwave tore through the alien fleet, shredding the Black Storm drones, ripping carriers apart, turning the invasion into debris and dust. On the surface, the skies cleared. The red faded to blue again. The war was over. A week later, Sentinel Memorial Site. Elena stood among the ruins, staring at the monument built from fragments of alien metal. Ethan's name was carved at the top. People came from every country, leaving flowers, flags, and messages. For the first time in history, Earth was one world, united not by fear, but by gratitude. A young boy looked up at the sky and asked, "Mom, do you think the stars are safe now?" His mother smiled softly. "Maybe. Because someone made sure of it." Far away, deep space. In the silent darkness, a small escape pod drifted, battered, cracked, but still alive. Inside, Commander Varric opened his eyes. Half his armor was gone. His face was burned. He stared out at the distant blue dot, Earth, his eyes full of hatred. He whispered, "Enjoy your peace, while it lasts." Then his pod vanished into the black, swallowed by hyperspace. Back on Earth, Elena looked at the stars one last time. For a moment, she thought she saw a faint glow, like a shooting star, and smiled. "Goodbye, Ethan," she whispered. "You kept your promise." The camera pulled back, from her face to the night sky, filled with stars, glowing quietly over a reborn Earth.